Hi, and welcome to another episode of If It's in the Mind, It Can Be Managed, the Mind Management Mentors podcast. We are deep diving so many different approaches to mental health, emotional health, and today we're going to be talking about, I would say physical health is the best part that we're going to be talking about today. I'm a big believer that the brain is the second gut, and a lot of our depressions in life can come from our gut. But I'm not the expert today, so we are going to introduce, first of all, let's welcome to the podcast Laura Pearson, a nurse balance coach. How are you, Laura?
I am good. How are you?
Absolutely fantastic. So we are talking about you for the next moment in time while we're doing this podcast. When I've met you at certain networking groups, I know we talked about confidence and things, and we went through some things from the mind management part, but I was fascinated about you talking about cellular health,
Yep.
which is your niche, if you like. I hate saying the word niche, but that's your baby right now. So first of all, tell us who Laura Pearson is and what do you do.
So my name is Laura, as you already know. I'm a mum of two boys.
Nice.
I am from Scotland, as you could probably guess by my accent. I have been a registered nurse now for coming up 17 years, 12 years as a dialysis nurse, looking after patients with both acute and chronic kidney disease. And then the last 5 years I've been based within a practice, again, working with patients with chronic conditions.
Yeah. Now,
And also a nurse balance coach, which I've been doing now for just over a year.
so we're going to deep dive what a nurse balance coach is because you talk about your history of inflammation and the challenges that you went through.
Mm-hmm. So basically, a nurse balance coach is like I work with people who are struggling with their health, whether it be gut issues, autoimmune conditions, skin conditions, just a lot of issues. And that 9 times out of 10, a lot of these stem from chronic inflammation in the body.
Yes.
And a lot of us actually have chronic inflammation, but we don't know sometimes until we start to become symptomatic with it, whether it be, as I said before, gut issues, autoimmune conditions as well. A lot of that's caused through chronic inflammation in the body. But through what we do with the testing, so we carry out testing to really check our cellular health, to see how healthy our cells are, to check for inflammation within that cell, to check if it's basically functioning as it should be. But what we are finding is 97% of people that we have tested, now we're sitting at the 1.6 million tests that we've done so far. We're aiming for 1 billion by 2050. But 97% of these people that we are testing are out of balance, which means, without going into a science lesson here, within that cell, you have an omega-6 to an omega-3 ratio, right? Now, your omega-6s is your pro-inflammatory, your omega-3s is your anti-inflammatory. We both need them. They're both essential fatty acids that our body needs to function properly. But because of our modern day diets and lifestyle, stress is a big factor, use of certain pharmaceuticals has knocked that balance off. So what we are finding is that most people have too many omega-6s within the cells and less omega-3s. And what is happening is those cells are becoming so inflamed because that balance has been knocked off. And that's how, you just have to look at the numbers of chronic disease and illness that we have today. And despite your advances to modern medicines and healthcare, people are getting sicker, so it's like, why is these people getting sicker? But what we are finding is that, everything I say is all backed up by science and things.
Yeah.
You just need to Google the importance of the omega-6 and the omega-3 ratio. But because the balance is so out of balance, basically, it's causing all these issues within the body. So we basically we do the test. Well, we work alongside an independent lab in Norway. which they do all of our testing. So we basically find out where you're sitting at with your levels, and we have the solution to get you back in balance within 120 days. And we know that because we've got the power of the test, and we have the test to prove it. But without going into too much detail as well, our DNA starts off at a ratio of 1 to 1. So 1 omega-6 to 1 omega-3. Scientists say that for you to be at optimal health and be within a healthy range, most people, or you should be at a 3 to 1. So 3 omega-6s to 1 omega-3. But over the decades, that number, that balance has tipped. And average, we're sitting at a 15 to 1 now, which is the Americans are the worst. They're sitting at about 25 to 1. So they're basically, our bodies are so inflamed that this is why, the numbers of ill health and disease is on the rise. We're even testing children now, and it's some of these kids are coming back at a 40 to 1. Now that is alarming. That is the health of our children. And if we don't start doing something about it now, it's just going to get worse, And being a nurse for 17 years, I have seen so much chronic disease and illness over the years, and it's getting people in their 40s, 50s coming in. They've maybe got 2, 3 chronic conditions. They're on a handful of meds. It's like, that is not normal, but society has started to normalize that now. But as I say, it's not normal. We need to start taking control of our own health. Test, just empowering ourselves to, to take control of our own health. So that's just why I'm very passionate about what I do, and also for my own results as well, because my results were shocking.
Right. So Laura, talk about, because that's where we always come from, our experiences.
Yes. Yeah.
So for you, what was your experiences and what was your symptoms? And bearing in mind, everyone that listens to this, you're a nurse, and you've been in the medical practice for a very, very, very long time. And you just mentioned that there, that we know that there's a symptom, and then we know there's a tablet for it, but the tablets are not helping, and people's cellular health, we'll keep talking about cellular health, is getting worse, even though there is tablets out there, because we're not really helping the root cause, are we?
And that's the thing, Cuddy, right? When people come into the hospital, or they come to see a GP, right, a lot of the time that damage is already done. Yeah. We are purely treating the symptoms.
Yes.
There's no preventative health there. And it's about getting to the root cause and addressing those issues before it comes to the stage where we need to be hospitalized, or, we need to go and see a doctor. Because as I say, when we go to the doctor, that's the latter end. That's when symptoms are starting to show. And a lot of the time the damage is already done.
Yes.
Yeah.
What was your symptoms, or what was it that made you start looking into it? Where were you, Laura?
So, I've been on my own wellness journey for years now. On and off, fell off the wagon more times than I can remember, probably like a lot of us. But I always struggled with weight. I've always struggled with losing weight. I had gut issues. I had brain fog, like so bad. But when a friend of mine reached out to me last year and offered, she says, Laura, if you could take a test, it would allow you to see what's going on inside, and to see if your current diet, lifestyle, and any supplements that you've been taking have actually been working for you, and if you're at risk of developing some form of chronic disease or illness in the future, would you be open to it? And I thought, well, I'm open to a lot of things, and when it comes to my health, I'm definitely open to that. So I took, now bearing in mind, I had been diagnosed with an underactive thyroid probably about 2 years ago. But before that, I was back and forward to the GP, had symptoms of an underactive thyroid, but because my results were in normal range, they didn't look at me. It was come back in 3 months, come back in 6 months and get your bloods checked. But I knew something wasn't right in my body. Yeah. Like, your own body. So anyway, I took the test, and my results came back at a 26-1, which meant my body was screaming at me. It was chronically inflamed, and which would make sense as to why I was getting those symptoms. And I believe now that it was that inflammation that I had in my body that then that caused my underactive thyroid. Because when you've got chronic inflammation in the body, it starts to attack healthy tissues, one of them being the thyroid. Sometimes people will experience it attacking the joints. That's when people are then diagnosed with arthritis, or it can attack the lining of the arteries and things. And people are then diagnosed with coronary artery disease or issues with the heart. And even it's linked to, dementia, Alzheimer's, because it starts to attack the healthy tissues within the brain. Mm-hmm. So people then start to become symptomatic with cognitive issues. But yeah, anyway, going back to what my results. So yeah, I was a 26-1. So that kind of gave me a bit of a fright and a wake-up call, because I was like, I've been doing all this over the years, trying to be healthy, trying to eat the right foods, exercise, and taking my supplements. I was spending about £120 a month on supplements that I thought were benefiting my health. But because I was so inflamed, my body, my cellular health was, your cells become so rigid and damaged that my body wasn't absorbing that properly. And all the toxins and waste products were building up in the cells because they were unable to be excreted because the cell membrane was so hard because of all the inflammation. And so obviously 26-1, that's, I was in the danger zone. It was only a matter of time before I probably started to develop some other form of chronic disease or illness, if I didn't get on top of that. So I started on the solution that we have, which is we call it a balance oil. It's an omega-3 oily fish supplement, but it also contains polyphenols. Now, without again going off on a tangent about omegas and all that, you only have to Google the benefits of an omega supplement. There's loads of peer-reviewed studies being done. There's loads of information about an omega-3 supplement, but there was a study done in 2018 called the Cochrane Report, which done a study on all your omega supplements. Now, your omegas are one of the biggest markets there is for supplements. But this study showed that no omegas actually work in the body because they're oxidized before they reach a cellular level. I don't know if you've ever taken an omega supplement before, Cuddy.
It's funny because I remember my dad taking him years ago because he had psoriasis and bad joints. And I remember my dad taking omega-3s. Mm-hmm. I did start taking omegas about 5 years ago. Yeah. And then I did stop because when you take supplements, I probably got a supplement cupboard in there. So what I'm fascinated about is right. So and I told you the reason I've been going through something for about 4 years now.
Yep.
And I obviously when you know you're not right, you Google the symptoms. Mm-hmm. And this is only there's a slight bias on me. I'm not a go to the doctors kind of person because I genuinely think there's probably an holistic approach to whatever I'm going through. I've been like that for and it probably comes from my parents. I know we were talking about ancestral beliefs and things like that before. My grandma was a hypochondriac. And I was only made aware of that by my dad. And my dad tried really hard not to go through, because he'd seen his mother live in the doctors, just going in on every Tuesday, oh, this is what's wrong with this is what's wrong with me. Mm-hmm. And my dad had tried really hard not to go that route, but he did. He got bad joints because he had bad food growing up. His main food source was jam sandwiches. He said that all I lived on was jam sandwiches growing up. Mm-hmm. So he went to work, and it's strange. I remember one of his pack-ups for food, or a pack-up or a pack lunch, whatever you want to call it. My dad was a big fan of dripping, which is lard on his bread, white bread and dripping, right?
Yeah.
Now, margarines came along, all these non-butter things that everyone was supposed to eat, but basically, from the understanding that you might say, Cuddy, that's not right. But they're basically plastic. We're putting in, we're having margarines. You want to go back to butter and
Yep.
fat.
Yep.
Lard now are really, it's starting to turn around. No, you want lard. And my dad's was always this brown brine off the roast beef on a Sunday, made into a dripping, and my dad had that through the week. And as bad elbows and joints that he had, he's nearly 80 now, and he's still like a pack horse. I mean, my dad never watches the podcast, but even I'm 47 now, and my dad and my mum are going so strong, so well.
Mm-hmm.
It's unbelievable to see how actually healthy they are. And my dad's really healthy. Yeah, he's got a belly and he only eats biscuits and crisps now, to be fair. But he's still going really well. He's strong as you like. And I just remember that, and I saw something about lard and fats of how we should be going back to the lards and the fats, staying away from the pasteurized and the non-pasteurized foods.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, for the past, so I have been always kind of brought up, don't go to the doctor unless you're dying.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something I'm really happy with. Now, I know we want to go, and I know you were talking about medical advice and things like that, and say, no, go to a doctor, but they are treating the symptoms. So, for the past 4 years, is it 4 years? It is 4 years. I was training strongman, and I was getting really tired, laid in bed. I was getting shivers. My joints are hurting, and I was like, "Oh my God, what's wrong?" So I thought I was crashing my CNS system again. Self-diagnosing. I thought I'm training too heavy. I'm 45 years old. Maybe I shouldn't be lifting cars and moving things around. And I probably got into strongman because I didn't want to change my food. And I was like, well, you gotta be big to me. So my joints started in, and I was getting ill. So I've been going to the doctors, pee problems, all those kind of things. I'm not looking for a diagnosis, Laura. You're absolutely fine. Because you'll be like going tick, tick, tick. You need right. So I eventually, my wife said, "Look, will you please go to the doctors?" I'm like, "Right, I'll go to the doctors." Told them what the problem is, and I said, "I think it's the kidneys because I'm struggling with pee and things like this. I think I had kidney stones years ago, so maybe they've gotten really bad." So the doctor said, "Right, we'll do bloods," and they went, "You've not even got gout." And every time they see me, I'm 6'2", I'm 22 stone. Everybody always asks me if I'm on steroids because of, like the muscles that I have under the fat. They are hidden under the fat, Laura. You've met me. You have met me. But even at the gym this morning, the guy was like, "Oh my God, how long have you been training?" I'm like, "Oh, I've not trained for about 2 years." And he was like, "Oh my God, you've still got the size." But I'm a big guy, as well, you know. And I went to the doctors. They did the bloods. Went, no, no diabetes. I went, I know I've not got diabetes because I eat a lot, but I don't eat bad food. I'm openly honest. Not a McDonald's, not a Burger King. I'm not a takeaway food. We don't eat takeaways because I'm like, no, I can probably make a nice Chinese in the oven. We like slow cooking meals and soups and things like that. But I do eat a lot. So as I went to the doctors, they were scanning my kidneys. I got into the hospital appointment and she went, "You've not even got a kidney stone." I'm like, "You're kidding me?" She was like, "Nah, not even a kidney stone." She says, "Nothing wrong with your kidneys." Wow, amazing, fantastic. So I told her my symptoms and she went, "Oh, you've got a gluten problem." And I was like, "What do you mean?" She went, "You've got gluten intolerance. Everything you're talking about is gluten." I was like, "All right, okay." So I've been gluten free for about a month now,
Mm-hmm.
but I've still been getting ill.
Okay.
And I've actually started noticing I'm getting a little bit worse with the illness. So I'm laid in bed and I wake up about 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm joints are hurting. I'm like, oh, I've woke up again. So I'm walking the dog at 3 o'clock in the morning. I know I'm not going to sleep. Then the rest of the day I've got bad back, bad here, bad in between the shoulder blades. I'm aching. Feel like I've got a flu. I'm coming down with a flu symptoms. I'm tired, lethargic. Really, really. That's the reason I wanted to get you on the podcast. Again, not for a diagnosis, but I wanted to talk about. So I went back to the doctors and they went, "You've got an inflammation. There's something going on. We need to have a look at it." So I'm getting more blood tests on Thursday. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I'm like, right, I need to talk to Laura about your
Mm-hmm.
process because I know I've got an inflammation problem. I've been
Yeah.
gluten-free for a month now and I'm still getting ill. So it's not the gluten. I'm not going back on gluten. To be fair, I've kind of
Gluten's the devil. If you can stay off it, you're better to.
I found a cottage cheese bread that I can make in an hour, and it's bloody delicious. I can't really make sandwiches out of it, but it's cottage cheese, porridge oats, which I grind into a flour, 2 eggs, and a bit of salt, and I put it in the oven. And even my wife was like, "What's that?" I'm like, "I've just made. Oh no, it's got sunflower seeds in, all these seedy things in." And I'm like, "Oh, I just have that with my soup now, that the homemade soup that we've got." And I'm like, "It's bloody delicious." Who would have thought cottage cheese makes a bread? Cottage cheese. Anyway, that's where I am now. So you, as the nurse balancing coach, and I'm definitely going to look more into the omegas, especially on a cellular. It was the reason I find it fascinating. Every time you talk, Laura, you know your stuff. You
Yeah.
might not know that,
Mhm.
Laura, and this is not for me to give you any validation whatsoever, because there is a disconnect between understanding the information that we have and how we're being perceived sometimes, and that's the locus of control. But
Mhm.
Laura, you come across as an amazing expert that I was like, I need to speak to Laura. I know I need to speak to a Laura, so I'm getting you on the podcast because we want to talk about the cellular level, the cellular regeneration. So, what's some of the symptoms that people might find? Oh, we've got an inflammation. Because I'm not digesting food. I know for a fact that my food's sitting here. It's going down and it's sitting and it's not moving.
Mhm. Yeah.
I know that that's a digestive thing. So I'm trying to find out what can I do? What can, if anybody else has got those symptoms, how do they know or how would they understand I might have an omega imbalance?
The thing with inflammation, it can show up in so many different ways, as I say, and it can affect so many different organs and parts of the body. So sometimes, it's hard to kind of determine, is it inflammation or is it not? But I think, as I say, the biggest cause of ill health and disease, apart from, well, one of the biggest causes is chronic inflammation. Then there's gut dysbiosis. Then there's type B malnutrition, and then glycemic mismatch. But so it's going to be one of those four that is causing, these issues. But I think that the symptoms that you're saying, to me, your body just seems like it's so inflamed and that it's affecting, a lot of different things in the body. But by addressing it, by addressing the root cause, doing the test, see where you are. You can't tell that there is a imbalance unless you're actually testing yourself, And it's a lot of the time with supplements and things, it's a shot in the dark. Somebody says, take this, it's going to help with that. Take that, it's going to help with this. But unless you're actually testing, see what's going on under the bonnet, basically, and being able to address that, you're just kind of guessing when it comes to your health. So you might go to the doctors and they'll say, right, we'll try it. We'll give you painkillers to help with the pain. They'll maybe give you a few other things to try and to help with your gut issues. If you're maybe struggling to go to the toilet or whatever, it'll be a laxative or usually. But it's really it's about knowing your numbers. It's important that we know our numbers, so we've got something to work on. But yeah, I mean, as I say, because of our modern day diets, like you say, processed food, ultra processed food, there's so much crap that they're putting in our foods.
What's the difference between a processed food and an ultra processed food? Tell me that.
So your processed foods is basically, they put a lot of stuff into your food to keep it for longer on the shelves and make it taste better, or just basically just putting all this stuff in our food so it'll last longer on the shelves. And a lot of the time, a lot of these additives and things that's in it, they're addictive, and our bodies just crave more of this. But going back to when it was all organic and we used to eat fresh from the fat, like the ground, the 1960s came along and there was mass production of food to in factories and stuff like that. And when just because I'm trying to explain this. So yeah, when the mass production of food came about, when it was all made in factories, things were just highly processed, as I say, to make these foods last longer for us. But all the additives and stuff that got put in it as well, and yeah, it's just something that I always say you're better going back to fresh organic stuff. Although it is difficult though, because even the quality of our foods that we get nowadays that's in the shops, a lot of those nutrients, key minerals, vitamins, omega essential fatty acids, they're no longer, or they're they're very minimal what's in that food now because of all the processes that the foods go through before they're even available to us in the shops. I think I've just went way off of what you've just asked me.
No, not at all, Laura, because the question, because I'll always follow your questions, so don't worry about it. So for you, what's a typical food day for you, Laura?
Oh God.
Yeah, no, that's a good question though, to be fair, because we what's a typical, knowing about processed food
Eat a lot of it.
what?
So see, like your processed food, that's even your cereals and stuff like that, because that, cereals are highly processed. Weetabix is ultra processed. And even like say your microwavable meals, anything that's easy to chuck in the micro, or all that stuff's just super processed, so it'll last longer on the shelves for us. And like a lot of bread and stuff as well, like your breads, all that stuff, highly processed. Just anything that's put into a packet or a jar that's going to make it last longer. I mean, tins of soup that last, 3-4 years? What the hell are they putting in those tins to make them last that long? Like, come on,
I see that's a hard pill to swallow for me because Heinz tomato soup is legendary. So,
I mean, I'm not sitting here saying that I eat fresh, organic every day, because it's not possible for, I'm a busy working mum. I don't have time to cook meals from scratch every day. I just don't. But I think it's about being organised with what you're cooking, and being maybe pre-cooking it the night before and having it ready the next day, rather than, oh shit, I've not got time, I'm just going to chuck something in the oven, And don't get me wrong, I do that sometimes, a pizza or something, but again, it is about having everything in balance. But there's so much processed foods out there now that is causing so much havoc in the body.
Yeah. So I noticed you said that the company you work with is from Norway. Was there studies based in, because it's very fish heavy in Norway, right? It's especially fish is heavy in omegas. Tell me if I'm wrong. I might be fishing in the wrong pond here. Excuse the pun. But fish is very good for omegas.
Oh yeah, aye. I mean, your omegas come from your fish basically, but because of the number of fish that's now available to us, that's very difficult to consume the amount of omegas that our body actually needs, and our bodies don't actually produce omegas. We need to get that from our foods. But if you look at, I don't know if you've ever read up like the blue zones. So
we watched the program. The blue zones were amazing.
Yes, because they still eat a lot of fish. They live off the land. They don't eat a lot of processed foods.
Yep.
Numbers of ill health and disease is very low.
And they're high in fats. They olive oils and the fats that they use are very good. Italy's got one. I think Iceland's a blue zone. I think there is
your tribes, a lot of your tribes and stuff as well, they're all still in the blue zones, because they just eat fresh from the ground, or it's all organic. There's none of your processed stuff. So you just have to look at their numbers of ill health and disease. That it's very obvious.
Yeah. So Laura, what changes did you make for you, and what's the change you've seen with your inflammation in your body? Do you have inflammation anymore? Do you find yourself completely...
So when I tested, I was 26-1, right? I started on our balance oil, which contains the omega-3 oily fish and the polyphenols, because that is the game changer when it comes to an omega supplement, is it the polyphenols, because polyphenols protect that omega, so it's then able to be absorbed at a cellular level. A lot of your omega supplements, there was a study done on krill oil, cod liver oil, and a few other ones, that they're all oxidized in the body before they even reach a cellular level. But the polyphenols, which comes from harvested olive oil, olives, but they actually work as a kind of armor for the omega, so it's then able to be to get to a cellular level for it to then penetrate through the cell membrane to reduce that inflammation.
Yeah.
But yeah, I tested. I started on the balance oil, and within 120 days, or round about the 120-day mark, I retested myself, because that's when your red blood cells regenerate themselves. So that was I was able to get a true kind of reading of what is going on inside those cells. So when I got my second test results back, I was sitting at a 2.2 to 1, which meant my inflammation came right down. But I felt I had so much more energy. Like that's what I said to my partner. The first thing I noticed was energy. I had so much more energy. My brain fog lifted. My gut issues started to improve. My body just started working the way it should,
Yeah.
And this is why we're seeing, even when some people, like, if your body's already in a chronic state of a low grade inflammation, right? When you're faced with either an acute infection or, an illness, or even menopause as well, their bodies struggle to deal with that, because their body's already in that state of like low grade inflammation. So their bodies are having to work twice as hard to deal with, other issues that's going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the difference I felt in myself just within 4 months it was like day and night. It was like someone just kind of lifted, and I was able to think properly and just have more energy. And yeah, it's difficult to really explain, and everybody reacts in different ways. But when you actually give the body what it needs, right, the body is then able to deal with what it's supposed to deal with. Because the body is an amazing thing. Like, the body can heal itself given the right environment to heal.
Yeah.
You only need to look at women in childbirth, what we go through, and our bodies bounce back pretty quick. Our bodies are designed to do that. But it's just, again, it's just, we need to start getting to the root cause of our issues rather than masking the problem. And health starts on a cellular level. The health of your cells is going to determine your health in the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. And it's really about taking that control back and, finding out what's going on and doing something about it, rather than maybe either relying on someone else or thinking, oh, it's going to get better on its own.
Yeah. So you said it took you, when you started on your program, you say there was the transformation was 4 months for you, right? Now, bearing in mind, and for a lot of people that be hearing this, it's not an overgeneralization, but a lot of people are looking for that immediate change.
Yeah. So
I start taking the Norwegian oil from you, and I'm like, well, I've been on this 2 weeks and nothing's changed. I'm still. So how do we coach through that?
So if you think how long that has taken your body to get in that chronic inflammatory state,
yeah,
right? Years. That could have taken years, But as I say, a lot of us have this inflammation, but we don't actually know that we do. And it can take years and years to manifest itself, and become symptomatic. So you've just got to think, how long is it taking you to get like that? It's not going to be an overnight fix, You've got to give it, I say, at least 4 months, because again, that's when the red blood cells, they regenerate their cell every 120 days. So that gives us a clearer, so by testing after day 120, that allows us to see if it's reacting to our cells. Some people are a little bit longer than 4 months, depending on how bad their first lot of results were.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But I just see it as, it's a journey, it's a journey that we go on. And if health is important to you, and you've got to give it time. But once you start seeing those results, you're going to want to keep going anyway. Because when I first started, I started on the oil, and then I started on another product for the gut. And there's actually another test that we are bringing out the start of next year to check the gut microbiome. So that's really exciting.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a journey that you go on. You're not going to expect results in like a week or that. You've got to be persistent with it. But I think when people actually see their first results, they get a fright, you know.
Yeah.
Not all the time. Some people are like, okay, right. But to me, having that in black and white and saying, right, this is my results, I need to do something about it. But again, it's about giving yourself time, and you know, Rome wasn't built in a day.
No, and this stature of a man wasn't either.
And that's the thing. Like our journeys to health, that's it's not a quick fix anyway. You know, it's something that it's with you all the time. You know, once you go on that journey, you've got to say you exercise or you eat a healthy diet, or you know that it's lifestyle changes. It's not looking for quick fixes. You know, it's you've got to make those simple lifestyle changes in order for like to get a better outcome. And folk that say I'm on a diet, I'm doing, oh, I've been there, done it. Diets didn't work. It's all you've got to want to do it and want to better yourself, and you've got to make those simple lifestyle changes, or you're just going to go back to the way it was before. And a lot of it's mindset. You'll know that yourself, Cuddy.
It is.
You have to want it up here as well.
You know, for a lot of people, especially with me, because as a mind management coach, I've been working with, well, I work with kids, I work with adults on helping. It's the belief systems. It's the belief system. You kind of briefly touched on that before. Belief system, and especially, and I talk about this a lot, Bruce Lipton, the biology of belief, and that on a cellular level is fact, absolute fact about the biology of belief and how that affects us on a cellular nervous system level. I mean, we are constantly programmed, every part of our cells with receptors of negativity, of trauma, of the constant affirmations of I can't, I won't, I don't. What I'm hearing, if you don't mind my saying, is that you're going to start, you help people regenerate their cellular levels, their cellular biology. So it's going to start receptive and being more receptive to the positive and the good in life. It's going to start, if you've got receptor cells within your body that's not firing and not receiving the information that it needs, it's not going to allow itself to heal. And what you're saying is the process that you have will help people regenerate their cells at the molecular level that they need to be, so that they are all firing, letting the body heal itself. The receptors are not firing off and taking in the stuff that it needs to be. So let me ask you a question. You might actually not be able to answer this one. I've got a feeling you will be able to. I'm well versed in fasting. Now, I've said this before, and a lot of people watching this video go, Cuddy, when was the last time you fasted? Now, to be fair, it is about 2 years ago since I fasted. But one thing that I heard about fasting was a 3-day fast, or a 3 to 4 day fast, will help flush out most of your dead internal tissues and allow your body to start regenerating. There's a massive regeneration process that goes through with fasting.
Yep.
Do you have any knowledge around that?
I mean, I do fasting off and on, and I've had good results from that. And yeah, you're right. There has been studies done on long-term fasting, how it can impact the body, but I don't think that'll be from a cellular level, because it's not going to give the body enough time.
Yeah.
Like 3 days. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know it kicks out the cancerous cells within our body. So the long-term fasting for doing a 3-day fast once a month will help decrease the chance of cancer.
Yeah.
What you're talking about, the root cause, and it can say, from what I'm learning and things like that, most root cause problems for a lot of people is the food.
Yes, yeah, definitely the food. The quality of the food that we get now to, even 1850 or the early 1900s is nothing. It just lacks the essential nutrients and everything that our body needs. And when there's all this processed stuff as well, it's causing so much havoc to our metabolic systems as well. They're all out of sync. It is. It's just, when you look at it, it's really quite frightening what damage that we're doing to our bodies by just as simple as the food that we eat nowadays.
The food seems to be a lot of root cause problems for a lot of people.
Yeah.
as I was and I'll even hold my hands up to this as well, as I was finding out about, I've got a sweet tooth.
Yeah.
So I do like sweet foods, and I know I do. My wife's salt. She loves crisps and salt, and I'm like, I'd rather have a biscuit with my cup of tea. And I know what I'm like. So I actually, because of that, I'm like, well, what can I do? So I found out how to make a gluten-free scone. So I've got some gluten-free scones that I made. Once again, with cottage cheese and eggs, by the way. Unbelievable, but I have got a nice scone waiting. So when it the amount, well, when I went through the journey of looking at, well, what can I eat is gluten free, I found out that most chocolate is gluten free, apart from Mars
Yeah,
bars. Because I
yeah,
was
yeah.
saying to my wife, oh, I can still eat chocolate, I can still Toblerone, I can still eat crunchies, and I'm like, it's mental. It's
Mhm.
absolutely mental that I can still go and eat all those things, not get any nutrients out of it. I know we don't get nutrients. Now, for anyone listening to this or watching this, I genuinely do a lot of slow cooker foods. We have a slow cooker soup every week where there's nothing in it apart from veg, water, stock, and a ham. That's literally my wife's soup and lentils and stuff like that. But even with lentils,
Oh,
we
I can't eat lentils.
tell me you can't have lentils.
I can't eat lentils because they just cause havoc on my stomach.
Right, because I was looking at that. If you've gone through a gluten-free kind of process and start thinking, well, I could eat lentils because they're not gluten-free, there's a very similar fiber in it that might still show up as a havoc for people's stomach, is the lentils.
Yeah, I can't eat lentils at all. It just I bloat me up.
Yeah, and it is
Hmm.
bloating. And I'm a guy. I'm 47-year-old. I'm a guy who's slowly changing his food and things like that. But I still get bloating, and even my wife's like, I don't know why you're still getting bloating because you're not eating anything that should technically
Hmm.
create that bloating within you. So tell
Think
me,
you're
you want to dive in straight away there? Go for it.
no, I'm just like see how I was on my own health journey for a long time, eating healthy, exercising and stuff. The damage was already done before then.
Mm,
So what I was trying to do to kind of improve my health wasn't really working because, as I say, the damage was done. So that could possibly be the case with you. You know, you're maybe trying to do all this just now, but because the damage is already there, you need to address and sort that damage first before you're then going to benefit from it, if you know what I mean.
yeah.
I mean, when I was younger, Cuddy, I was out partying all weekend, didn't eat properly, would get a takeaway on a Sunday night, hardly slept, you know. To me, I think I'd done a lot of damage then.
Yeah. But as you say, the body heals itself. I mean, look at the amount of damage that a pregnancy puts your body through, but we heal from that.
Yeah, yeah. I
So
mean, yeah. What were you going to say?
no, I was going to say the body does heal itself if you have the ability to
But
be.
it needs to be in that right environment in order
Yeah,
to heal itself, you know.
yeah,
And it's really just about resetting, going back to the way that the body should be, and then you know, taking it for there. But as I say, it's to me like health starts on a cellular level. If your cells are damaged and inflamed, you're going to have some sort of issue, and that needs to be addressed. For me, that has to be the first thing that we address.
yeah. I love that. That's the title of the. I told you the name of the podcast would come up in
Uh-huh.
your
Yep.
health starts on a cellular level.
Yep.
Boom! I knew it would pop up. That was your tagline, Laura. Fantastic. Laura, is there anything else you would like? Because I know you're a busy mum of two and still working as a nurse and things like that. And I know you'll probably have to do the school run shortly. Is there anything else you want to share? Because this was a fascinating podcast, Laura, and I mean that sincerely.
Mm-hmm. Oh, do you know what? To me, like health, or all of us, you know, health should be important to us, right? If we could have 99 problems, but if you've got a health problem, you've only got one problem. And we all want to live a healthy life and, you know, feel good and be it, just have the energy, have loads of energy to do things. We don't want to feel like shit and have to rely on, you know, I'm not saying medication, but rely on things to make us feel good. You know, it's health is it's us. It's up to us to take responsibility for our own health.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just, as I say, we only live one life, we want to make it a good one. We don't want to, and people say, oh, people are living longer, right? Fair enough, but what's the quality of life that these people have got? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, people might be living longer, but that's not to say that their quality of life is good. Do you know what I mean? But I think it's just about being more open to things around you, and yeah, just valuing your health, and making a conscious effort to be healthy and feeling at your best, because nobody wants to feel like shit all the time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So Laura, I'm gonna ask two poignant questions for you right now.
You go
What
put
food you'll like this? This is total advice. And we say don't give advice, but no, we're gonna go for advice from Laura. What one food should people start eating today to start helping to change their cellular level? What one food would you say start eating this now?
God, where do I
Good
start?
question.
Obviously, you want to eat more fish, but at the same time, we need to consume so much fish for that to have an effect to us, because, well, that we do. So, but basically, I would just say stay away from processed foods, eat fresh if you can. I know that's not always easy. Just reduce alcohol and stuff as well. Just
Answer the question, Laura. Answer the question. What one food will start helping you repair on a cellular level?
probably, well, fish.
Perfect. Good. Any type of fish or a specific fish?
Probably, well, fresh fish, like line caught fish.
Nice. Perfect. Good. Laura, next question. What one food would you tell everybody to stop eating today if they want to change their health on a cellular level? What one food would you say stop eating it now?
Um, God, what would I say? There's so many things that's probably that's so bad for you. A lot of your oils, like olive oil, is good because that's got high in omega-3. But like say your sunflower oils and all that, that's the one that's bad for you. You can,
Rapeseed oil.
yeah, rapeseed oil, sunflower oil, all that stuff is just high in your omega-6s. And a lot of the time we cook with all that kind of stuff.
Right. I'm going to go and get rid of my rapeseed oil right now because I've been using it and I've got an olive oil sitting. So,
Olive oil, and I know olive oil is so expensive though, and I get it. People go for the cheaper option of oil, but again, that all, can have an effect to that.
to echo what you've just said, right, way back in the day, early 50s, castor oil was given as a healthy supplement. Before castor oil became what castor oil is now, the only thing that they different, castor oil was given to people to create a healthy body, and they found out it didn't work and it was so bad, they actually turned castor oil into car oil, and now castor oil, the brand castor oil, is now used within car systems, and it's the same oil they gave people to eat way, way back in the day. So that all they did was a rebrand. It was the same substance that they were said you can eat. Now they're putting in people's cars. How mental is that for
Yeah.
anyone that's been, oh my God, I always got told to take castor oil. Castor oil that we use in our cars was given as a food source years ago. They just rebranded and started selling it for that instead. That's the power of an oil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And on
absolutely.
that, I know, Laura, and on
Yeah.
that insight, I want
Mm-hmm.
to say a massive thank you for sharing your time, Laura.
No, you're welcome. Thanks for asking me to come on and just really share what I'm passionate about, and just trying to get the message across to people as well. There's a lot of work to be done, but I think more and more people are starting to kind of take a holistic approach and being open-minded to what else is out there, and taking that control back of their own health.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. I will sign off and say a massive thank you to everyone that's tuned into the podcast. As always, if it's in the mind, it can be managed. And as we've learned today, if it's in the gut, it can be managed. And check in with Laura. Have some questions with Laura. I'll put your email on all the stuff that I'll send out as well, Laura. So hopefully people will want to get in contact and find out about the what's the name of the process what's the name of the process that you have? What is it?
What do you mean the process?
The thing that you sell.
Yeah.
What is it called?
It's a balance oil.
It's a balance oil. That's the one. Yeah, the balance. Yeah. Yes.
But we do the dry blood spot testing to go along with the balance oil because you start the testing to see where you are. Start on the protocol for it, and then you retest again on day 120 or round about 120. And that's the thing with a lot of supplements, it's a minefield when it comes to supplements. Yeah. Your supplements are one of your biggest markets there is out there, but how do you know that your body's actually absorbing these? And unless you're not testing, you're purely guessing what your body needs.
Yeah, the balance. That was it. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Laura, this was a fascinating podcast. I can't wait for everybody to like, comment, and subscribe. I know it'll be out on your socials, it'll be on my socials. Thank you very much, Laura. If it's in the mind, it can be managed, and I can't wait to see you on the next episode of the Mind Management Mentors podcast, where we deep dive all the things that help you manage your mind better. And remember, depression is often found in the second brain, which is the gut. As always, big love from Cuddy, and I will see you on the next episode of the Mind Management Mentors podcast.